And with that, we break down the legal side of things. I am pleased to be joined by our attorneys in studio with me. Walter Madison is back. 1 week ago, he joined us when the Watson story took a turn and Deshaun Watson met with the media. Connie Hightower joins us. Henry Hilo joins us in studio. Thank you all. As I said to you before we actually came on, I was from me to you from Deshaun Watson a week ago, and he was, I thought, going to go 15 rounds with this thing, and settlement was not in his vocabulary. What do you think changed?
I think he weighed the benefit of resolving this with money. Let's face it, a civil lawsuit ends one way, he paying money. He has a lot of it. They were going to reach a number eventually. It is no way an indication that he did anything wrong, but he has many other things on his mind. He has to lead a team. He has to gain their trust and display his leadership capabilities. And he can't do that with this distraction, quite frankly, of what we're doing right now, talking about it in the media.
The court of public opinion.
Absolutely.
Connie, that's a big number, 20 of 24 suits settled. How did that come across, get resolved so quickly, it seems, in a matter of days? It would appear that that would take a long time.
Well, not necessarily. We don't know why everybody filed a lawsuit, but if you look at the way that the suits were filed in this case, some were filed originally, more trickled in, so we're not sure where their numbers were. But to resolve some of the cases, especially maybe some that came later in the end, that's not surprising.
Henry, you're Rusty Hardin right now. You're his attorney, okay? I would think that you would have advised him, hey, listen, you cannot win in the court of public opinion in this case, right? Am I right?
Well, you're never going to win the court of public opinion between news outlets, the internet, social media, and everybody was on a daily basis, almost on an hourly basis. It was trickle down, trickle down. I think everything in life is timing. And in this case, the season training's what, about a month away?
Yeah.
5 weeks away?
5 weeks away.
The NFL didn't want this lingering over its head. So I think there was pressure from the NFL. The Houston Texans didn't want it hanging over their heads. And obviously the Browns didn't. And I agree. If you look back on the history of this case, going back to when he was going to be traded to Miami, there was discussions of a settlement then, but they couldn't agree on the non-disclosure.
Yeah, and there were 4 holdouts in that situation, or he would have been the starting quarterback right now for the Miami Dolphins. And I'm wondering, I'm playing the numbers game right now, Walter, there are 4 holdouts right now. Would negotiations be ongoing here between the 2 sets of attorneys?
Absolutely. That's always open. And it's probably always wise. The timing, the team has to begin to focus, and their holdout may be a leverage move for more to up the value of their claim, if you will.
All right, let's go to this. This is a funky system, and I don't know if you're all aware of this next stage of this. The NFL has brought in a new disciplinary officer. How can his attorney, I mean, he's handled the legal situation. There have been no indictments. Okay, 2 grand juries have said no, Connie, in this situation. But now this is a new stage. A former federal judge will listen to the evidence. I don't know, it's not like a courtroom situation.
So from my understanding, they're going to resolve it based on the collective bargaining unit. As far as what their standard is with the NFL, it's going to be completely different. So it is going to be different. It's going to be a game changer, but I think they may have an idea of what to do.
Henry, there's a kind of an ugly situation hanging out in the corner. Some of the NFL owners have not behaved well themselves, with very little to no punishment. And there has been talk that you could suspend a quarterback in the NFL for a year, if not more, in the Watson case. That has to be the leverage that the appeal would have on the player's side.
That's huge leverage. I mean, let's just talk about Robert Kraft. He's videoed. He's caught down there.
That's right. In a sting.
And he was charged. Now, he was charged in that case. It was ultimately dismissed over evidentiary issues. He's the owner of the New England Patriots. Nothing was done with him. Money to these owners means nothing.
Right.
Taking their franchises would. Dan Snyder in Washington is another example.
Right.
So I think that's huge leverage right now. And it's a question, I think, depending on how they rule, you can bet the Players Association will be filing suit.
So the quarterback spoke last week. Would you advise him right now, stay out of the media?
I think the union has gotten involved to take a voice for him.
We'll take it from here.
We'll take it from here because they must avoid disparate treatment as well as impact in what they do. And this case is interesting because there's so many layers. You have the issue with disparate treatment with the owners, and you have Deshaun Watson.
Right.
You have, if you will, race.
Absolutely.
You can't ignore that. So how the NFL handles this is quite interesting. And now we have a new person, an arbiter, if you will, with the credentialing of being a former judge to kind of wash their hands from making a call.
Connie, the 4 women that remain, unresolved in their cases right now, and I mentioned at the outset when we began our discussion that I thought Watson was in for 15 rounds. He was going to go to the mat, okay? He was going to go to trial. I wonder about the stick-to-itiveness of the remaining 4 women. What would you say they've held out this long?
Well, sometimes they hold out on principle, and it just might mean that there's a point that they want to get to or that they're really stuck with their cause. It may mean that there's a monetary amount that they want to get to. In fact, when Walter and I talked earlier, we were wondering where in succession were the remaining 3 that were not the original suit filer. Who's left? We don't know that yet because they haven't filed their dismissals.
Henry, real quickly as we wrap this up, this was a real battle of personalities with 2 attorneys, Rusty Hardin, Tony Busby, and I know you've all followed it. They were in the media, they were slugging it out together. It almost became a real personal battle between those 2.
Yes, and they're probably both having a drink together tonight. The reality is,
There's a Gene Hackman movie in this.
There is. I wish I was Gene Hackman, but the reality is that from the outset, each one was maneuvering in the school of public opinion.
Yeah.
But each one, these negotiations just didn't turn over the last 72 hours.
I agree.
This was ongoing, and there was going to be a point in time, and I think the NFL, behind the scenes, if you listen to what they said before, was they had done their investigation, yet there was no ruling. I think there was pressure put on, get this done, because if it's not done, you're getting an indefinite suspension, and you're going to have to apply next year.
And here we go. And so it goes on. Walter, Connie, Henry, thanks very much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
God bless.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, let's
Thank
go
you.
back over to Laura.